Well, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace has been a very outspoken critic of Governor Andrew Cuomo. She joins us now. Congresswoman, thanks for being back with us.
Sean.
You know, you've not just been a critic of Governor Cuomo, but you have been somebody who's dealt with this issue personally. And I want to read you something that the governor tweeted in 2013. He said, there should be a zero tolerance policy when it comes to sexual harassment and must send a clear message that this behavior is not tolerated. I mean, the governor's not backing down despite these growing calls for him to resign. The New York Attorney General said that the investigation was civil in nature and that there wouldn't be any criminal actions. But legal experts caution that the standard for criminal prosecution is much higher, and that's why they're not doing this. But, you know, I just got to figure that this is, I mean, over and over again, he keeps making excuses as to why he did this.
Right. And it's disgusting to see this happening at the highest levels of government, to see these 11 women have the courage, and I mean extreme amount of courage, to come out and tell their stories. And if there are 11 today, I have to think there are more women out there who are afraid. And I read the stories today about this Facebook executive used to be on his communication staff and being part of this smear campaign. This is why women do not come forward. And to hear the Attorney General's office call this sexual harassment, well, the last time I checked, when someone put their hand up your shirt and it feels you up, that's not harassment, that's assault. And why there aren't criminal charges being brought is astounding to me. Very few women ever get to have recourse when they are assaulted or harassed. And he's got everyone from every Democrat in New York asking him to resign, and now the President of the United States suggesting he should resign. He should step down.
Yeah. Congresswoman, throughout the pandemic, we saw the media refer to Governor Cuomo as the gold standard for governors, and they made him pretty much a media darling. One of Governor Cuomo's accusers, Charlotte Bennett, that we heard from earlier, said that the media's constant praise emboldened him. Do you agree?
Well, I'm not one of the alleged victims, so I can't speak for that. But I would say you can see in his media interviews and his tit for tat, the funny interviews or whatever ridiculous interviews he did with his brother on CNN, he did feel emboldened. I mean, he put senior citizens in nursing homes that were spreading COVID in these fatal facilities. He made money off of that. Millions of dollars he'd made money off of by writing a book about the pandemic. And to see this culture of fear and retaliation and sexual harassment, possible assault in his own office, it's abhorrent. And he gets away with it because he's a governor. And not only is this a poor definition of leadership, but he has definitely poor morals as just a normal human being.
You know, you heard a series of excuses come from him, right? He essentially downplayed these unwanted advances by saying, hey, look, I kiss everyone. Here's a video montage of me kissing men and women, people of different colors and ethnicities, short people, tall people. And, oh, by the way, you know, if there's a cultural thing, I think it's, you know, because I'm Italian, that's what we do. I feel like this really damages the rhetoric of sexual harassment victims, because he's trying to explain that, well, it's not that way if you're just being friendly, or if you've got a particular cultural background that lends itself to this.
No, the excuse is really also, you know, it lends this culture of sexual harassment not only in an office place, it's inappropriate, and also in some ways it re-victimizes the victim by making up all these excuses. For anyone who's going to be a leader in this country, people make mistakes, so own it, take responsibility for it, do the right thing, and step down. I demanded that Governor Cuomo step down 150 days ago. The least he could have done is step down until the investigation had concluded. The investigation has concluded. There are 11 women that have detailed these events within his office, the culture of fear, the retaliation we now know that is happening and was coordinated against some of these women. He ought to do the right thing, and I hope that the state of New York and that other Democratic leaders, and I know Republicans are also stepping up to the plate and demanding his resignation.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I do want to switch gears with you, but stay in the state of New York and talk about the city of New York. We had Mayor Bill de Blasio defending becoming the first in the nation to mandate proof of vaccination by saying it's an easy thing to do for restaurants there. Listen to this.
There's always that point where you come into a place and people engage you. That's the point where you simply have to show your vaccination card or one of the apps that show that you've been vaccinated. It's really quite positive and straightforward. It's really easy.
Okay, at the same time, we have the Democratic mayor of Boston equating requiring vaccine proof to slave papers. All right, once again, a big divide here for the Democratic Party, but it seems like oftentimes we hear Democrats saying this is being perpetuated by Republicans, yet you have a Democratic mayor standing up against it. Do you think that the media is fueling this false narrative?
The media does fuel fear, and they're dealing with fear rather than facts. We saw last week Nancy Pelosi directing the Capitol Hill police to arrest any visitors on the Hill or staff to be arrested for not wearing a mask. And then you saw on Twitter with the blue check marks, mainstream media saying, well, maybe we should arrest people who aren't vaccinated. Showing your vaccine papers is not something anyone should support in this country. There has to be a balance between protecting our freedom and our liberty and our public health. There are many places around the country who've been able to find that careful balance and not demand vaccine passports. And I quite frankly, I think we should be looking into the constitutionality of it, because it sounds very unconstitutional to have to show vaccine papers to do normal, everyday activities. Like, where does this end? Are you gonna get carded every time you go to the grocery store or take a walk down the street? Like, I don't know where this ends.
Yeah, what about a flu shot? And by the way, since kids under 12 can't get vaccinated, can a family go out? There's a lot of things that just don't make sense about this. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, thank you for speaking out against Governor Cuomo, making your voice part of this dialogue, and thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you, as always.
You bet.